What happens when the man who signs the paychecks starts sorting the boxes? Shaun Laker owned all 13 of the company's shipping warehouses, but nobody at the Denver location had ever met him. He'd bought the business 6 years ago from a retiring logistics veteran and kept the original name. The staff only knew corporate was somewhere in California, and that the CEO was never seen on the floor. That anonymity was exactly what Shaun needed now. He'd been getting reports of unusually high product return rates due to breakage, especially from the Denver hub. But the warehouse manager's reports looked clean. Too clean. Must be a fluke in transport, the manager, Clint, had said in his last quarterly call. Shaun didn't buy it. So he flew out, put on a fake mustache, thick-rimmed glasses, and a Navy warehouse uniform with the name tag Illy. He'd grown a beard over the last few months and dyed it a dusty brown. No one in Denver had ever seen the CEO in person, not even the district manager. He walked in just after 6 in the morning. "You the new guy?" asked a tall woman in her early 30s, holding a clipboard and a phone tucked under her chin. "Yeah, Illy, starting today. Danica, floor supervisor, you're with sorting, follow me." Danica moved fast and talked faster. Her dark hair was tied back and her sleeves were already rolled up. "We're short 3 people today. You'll be on fragile. Just scan, sort, and label anything with red stickers. Don't overthink it." "Got it," Shaun said. The floor was buzzing. Forklifts, conveyor belts, boxes flying from one station to another. It was chaos, but somehow organized. Shaun kept his head down, watching how others handled the fragile packages. Most were careful until Clint walked in. Clint, the warehouse manager, was a thick man with a buzz cut and a permanent scowl. He walked with a swagger, barking orders like he was running a boot camp. Shaun noticed everyone stiffen when he entered. "Let's move," Clint shouted. "I don't care what color the sticker is, I want these trucks loaded in 30 minutes. A guy next to Shaun hesitated while handling a box marked fragile glass. Clint saw it. "Hey, you think this is a tea party? Toss it in. We've got quotas to hit." "But it says," "I said toss it. If it can't survive the truck, it ain't worth shipping." Shaun watched in disbelief as the worker gave in and slid the box roughly onto the belt. It tumbled into a pile, landing with a dull crack. Danica stepped in. "Clint, that one's marked high risk. That's not how we." Clint cut her off. "You want to run this warehouse, Danica? You want to explain to corporate why we're behind again?" Danica didn't answer. She looked down and walked off. Shaun's stomach turned. He picked up the next fragile box and handled it gently, placing it where it belonged. Clint noticed. "You one of those delicate types?" he asked, loud enough to draw laughs from a few workers. "Move faster or move out." Shaun didn't say anything, just nodded and kept working. He stayed quiet, but inside he was boiling. Later that afternoon, he found Danica near the loading dock. "You okay?" he asked. She gave a tired half smile. "Yeah, just don't like being told to break stuff, but hey, welcome to the zoo." "Why don't you push back harder?" Danica sighed. "I tried. Last time Clint wrote me up for insubordination, said I was slowing the team down. District didn't do anything, so now I just do damage control where I can." Shaun nodded slowly. "You ever think about leaving?" "Every week, but I've got a kid, 7, named Sadie, needs the insurance." That hit Shaun harder than he expected. He looked at the loading dock and watched another fragile box get thrown like a basketball. He clenched his jaw. This wasn't just a bad day. This was a system. And it was breaking both boxes and people. Tomorrow, he'd dig deeper. By Shaun's second day on the warehouse floor, the rhythm of the place had already started to wear thin. He arrived just before dawn, same as the rest, and waited in the break room with a stale coffee in hand and his hood pulled low. A few employees nodded at him. No one really talked. The television mounted in the corner played a muted morning news program while a worn-out vending machine buzzed in the background. "Illy," Danica called from the doorway. "You're with me today on intake." He followed her out as the warehouse stirred to life. Forklifts beeped, conveyor belts hummed, and steel doors clattered open. Intake was the first stop for shipments arriving from other branches. It was also the place where mistakes from upstream got passed downstream. Danica handed him a scanner and pointed to a line of pallets stacked haphazardly with boxes. You scan the code, match it to the manifest, and flag anything that looks damaged. Sounds easy until you're doing it for 7 hours straight. Shaun got to work. The first few pallets were straightforward, but by the fourth, the problems started stacking. Literally. Boxes meant to be upright were laid on their sides. Some had torn corners. A carton clearly marked this side up had a forklift dent through its top panel. He flagged it and kept going. A tall man with a lean build and a limp strode over and jabbed a thumb at the flagged pallet. "Why's this one stalled?" he asked. Danica didn't look up. "Crushed packaging. Needs inspection before it can move to sorting." The man scoffed. "We don't have time for that." "Push it through." Danica stood up straighter. "We've already had 3 customer complaints this week from items broken in transit. That pallet looks like it took a fall." "I said move it," he snapped. Danica's tone didn't change. "That's not protocol. If we skip inspection and ship broken items, it's on us." Shaun paused mid-scan, watching the exchange. The man stepped closer. "You don't get to decide what's protocol. That's my job." Danica stared at him. "Then maybe do it properly." Shaun could see it then, not just tension, contempt. The man was used to being obeyed, not questioned. He turned and stalked off. Danica briefly closed her eyes, then went back to her scanner. "Who was that?" Shaun asked quietly. "Name's Reese. Clint's right hand. He's been here longer than anyone and he acts like it. But he's never done this job himself." Shaun noticed a few other workers watching. No one interfered. No one ever did. Later that afternoon, Shaun found himself assigned to outbound loading. It was a tighter space, hotter too, and the pace was relentless. He was paired with a woman in her 40s named Renee. She didn't say much at first, just handed him labels and gestured toward the dock. After a few minutes, she finally spoke. "You're new, you'll learn." "Learn what?" "That if you care too much, you'll stop sleeping." Shaun didn't answer. He just kept lifting boxes, his back already sore. A few docks over, Reese was shouting again, this time at a younger guy who looked barely 20. "You loaded that wrong. That's not how we stack." The kid stumbled over his words. "I thought you thought, don't think. Just do what you're told." The kid looked like he wanted to disappear. Shaun stepped over, pretending to grab a roll of tape. "I can help him finish this one," he said. Reese narrowed his eyes. "Do I look like I need your help?" "No. Just thought I'd speed things up," Shaun offered, keeping his tone neutral. Reese gave him a long look, then walked away without a word. Back at their dock, Rena gave him a sidelong glance. "Careful. He remembers faces, especially ones that don't back down." Shaun nodded. "Noted." As the shift dragged on, Shaun started noticing other things you don't catch in a spreadsheet. The water station had one working cooler and no cups. The bathroom near the dock had a broken lock. A small laminated sign taped to the door read, "Use the other one." But the other one was halfway across the floor. Some workers just didn't bother. They held it until breaks. Lunch was worse. The break room had a microwave with a note that read, "Heats uneven, rotate your food." The folding table in the corner was missing a leg, propped up with a stack of shipping labels. People ate standing or outside, leaning against pallets. Shaun sat near the exit door and watched a young woman eat instant noodles out of a paper cup. She had her headphones on and her sleeves pushed up to her elbows, revealing a faint scar along the inside of her forearm. She caught his gaze for a second, nodded once, and kept eating. Danica sat beside him with a protein bar and a bottle of water. "Still think this is just a warehouse job?" she asked. Shaun shook his head. "No. Most of us have 2 jobs or kids or both. We don't complain because we can't afford to lose this one." He didn't respond. He just watched the loading dock buzz under flickering lights. After lunch, Shaun was moved to inventory reconciliation with a guy named Marcus. Marcus was in his 50s, wore thick gloves, and had a dry humor that came out in short bursts. "You know why we can't keep track of half this stuff?" Marcus asked. Why? Because when a shipment's late, Clint just slaps it onto the next one and doesn't log it. Then we get blamed when the numbers don't match. Does that happen often? Marcus paused. Too often. I've been here 9 years. We used to have systems. Now we have excuses. Shaun helped him recount a shelf of spare parts. Several items were missing. Guess the spreadsheet will say miscellaneous loss, Marcus muttered. It was nearly dark when the shift ended. Shaun changed in the locker room, his back aching and his hands sore. He watched 2 younger workers quietly share a cigarette outside while another sat on the curb, rubbing his knees. As he walked toward the parking lot, he heard raised voices near the loading bay. He paused behind a stack of pallets. Reese was arguing with a worker whose uniform was stained with oil and dirt. "You clocked out 5 minutes early," Reese said. "My back gave out. I told Danica." "I don't care what you told her. That's wage theft." "You serious?" "I've stayed late all week." Reese stepped closer. "You don't get to make your own hours. You want to keep this job." Shaun stepped out from behind the pallets. "Problem here?" he asked, keeping his tone even. Reese turned. "Mind your business, rookie. I work here same as him." "If someone's injured, they shouldn't be threatened over 5 minutes." Reese's lip curled. "You want to be next?" Shaun stared at him. "Go ahead, try." For a moment everything was still. Then Reese turned and walked off. The injured worker gave Shaun a curt nod. "Thanks." Shaun nodded back. "Get that back looked at." He walked to his rental car in silence, heart pounding. The cracks weren't just in the boxes. They were everywhere, in leadership, in morale, in the walls of the building itself. He sat in the driver's seat and stared out the windshield. Tomorrow, he wouldn't just watch. He'd test the limits, see how far the rot went, and when it broke, he'd be ready. Shaun arrived early the next morning, pulling into the far end of the warehouse lot before the sun crested the horizon. He didn't bother with coffee. His mind was locked in, focused, alert. Today wasn't about observing anymore. It was about pressure. He needed to see who cracked, who stepped up, and who exposed themselves when things didn't go to plan. Inside, the fluorescent lights cast a sickly glow over the rows of pallets and conveyor belts. Danica was already reviewing the morning's inbound manifest, her lips moving silently as she traced lines with her pen. She didn't look up. "Morning," Shaun said. She gave a half nod and handed him a scan gun. "We're down 2. You're in receiving again. Try to keep pace. We've got overflow coming from Salt Lake." Shaun turned toward the receiving bay just as the first truck backed in. The driver looked exhausted, his eyes bloodshot and shoulders slouched forward. He dropped the loading ramp, revealing a chaotic mess of boxes stacked unevenly, many caved in and some visibly leaking powdery residue. "Looks like this one got shaken up," Shaun said. "No surprise," muttered Renee, who was already pulling a damaged box onto a dolly. "They stopped shrink-wrapping pallets last month to save time." Shaun didn't respond. He stepped up and began unloading, carefully logging each item. But halfway through the first pallet, he spotted something that made him pause: a red medical device label, slightly torn, on a box that had been stuffed sideways into a corner. He pulled it out. The corner was crushed inward. There was no way the contents had survived intact. He flagged it for immediate inspection. Minutes later, Clint appeared at the bay, already agitated. "Why's that truck not done yet?" he barked. Shaun kept his tone even. "Half the shipment's compromised. We need a supervisor to log the damage." Clint stepped closer. "You don't stop a truck for one bent box. Move it." Shaun didn't blink. "It's a regulated item, packed improperly. This goes out and someone gets hurt. It's on us." Clint's eyes narrowed. "You think I don't know what's in my shipments? I think you're not the one unloading them," Shaun replied. Clint glanced at Renee, who didn't meet his gaze. "You've been here, what, 3 days?" Clint said, voice hardening. "Keep talking like that, you won't make it to 4. Shaun set down his scanner. "Then fire me." Clint stared at him for a long second, then turned and walked off without another word. Rihanna looked over. "You really don't care if he fires you?" Shaun scanned the rest of the pallet. "I care if someone gets hurt because we didn't do our job." By mid-morning, word had spread. Workers shot him sideways glances, some curious, others cautious. When Shaun walked into the sorting line, the younger guy who'd been chewed out by Reese 2 days earlier gave him a silent nod of respect. Danica approached with a clipboard. "Reese wants you on lift duty," said the intake bays too slow. Shaun wiped sweat from his brow. "That his call or Clint's? Does it matter?" she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Shaun followed her to the lift station where Reese stood with his arms crossed, eyes already fixed on him. "You're the guy with opinions," Reese said. "I'm the guy who can count," Shaun replied. Reese stepped closer. "Then count on this: if you keep slowing us down with protocols and flags, you'll be counting hours until you're gone." Shaun said nothing. He climbed into the lift and began the work: stacking, moving, scanning. Reese lingered nearby, watching like a hawk. As more pallets rolled in, Shaun noticed something strange: packages with duplicate tracking codes. He double-checked, then triple-checked. Same code, same sender, different contents. "Danica," he called, motioning her over. "You've got duplicates here. These aren't logged right." She examined the scanner readout. "That's not supposed to happen." Shaun looked around. "You think someone's skimming?" She hesitated. "There were rumors last year inventory kept going missing." "But they said it was just miscounts." Shaun stepped off the lift. "This looks intentional. If someone's duplicating codes, they're moving product off manifest, probably to resell." Danica's face tightened. "If that's true, we need to know who's routing them." Danica checked the manifest logs. "All these came through lane 3, Reese's lane." Shaun didn't respond. He didn't need to. They both understood. At lunch, Shaun sat across from the young woman with headphones he'd seen the day before. She took them off when he approached. "You're the guy who mouthed off to Clint," she said, not smiling. "Is that what people are calling it?" She shrugged. "We don't see that much." "Shaun," he said, offering his hand. She eyed it, then shook. "Leah," he gestured to her lunch. "You always eat out here." "Break room gives me headaches. Noise, smell, everything." He nodded. "You ever had issues with Reese, with how he routes incoming?" Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Just trying to understand how things work here." She looked away. "You won't change anything." "Maybe. Maybe not." She paused. "Last month I saw him take a whole pallet off the belt and drive it out to the back dock. Said it was misrouted, but it never came back." "You report it?" "To who?" "Clint. He'd just say I imagined it." Shaun looked down at the barcode scanner clipped to his belt. "You remember what was on that pallet?" "Small electronics. Bluetooth speakers, high-end chargers, stuff that sells easy." Shaun stood. "Thanks." That night he stayed late, pretending to clean near the back dock. He waited until most of the crew had left, then slipped behind the outer pallets. Reese's truck was still there, lights off. Tailgate open. At 7:11, Reese exited the side door, carrying a shrink-wrapped box. He looked around, then loaded it into the truck bed. Shaun stepped out. "You logging that shipment?" Reese froze. "Didn't think so," Shaun said. Reese dropped the tailgate and turned. "You've got no idea what you're stepping into." "No, I know exactly what I'm stepping into: fraud, theft, employee intimidation, and OSHA violations. I've seen enough." Reese laughed once, low and bitter. "You think anyone will believe some temp over me?" Shaun pulled the ID badge from his back pocket and let it swing forward. "They'll believe the CEO." Reese's face paled. Shaun stepped closer. "You're done." The next morning, Shaun returned in a dress shirt and slacks, beard trimmed down, and a company badge with his full name. Danica was the first to notice. She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes wide. "You?" He nodded. "Shaun Laker, I own this place." The room went silent. Clint stormed out of his office seconds later, clearly confused by the commotion. "What's going on?" Shaun turned to him. "You're finished. Clean out your office and wait by the dock. HR will escort you." Clint's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Reese didn't show up. Security found his truck abandoned 2 blocks away. Shaun faced the remaining crew. "I owe you all an apology for letting things get this far, for trusting numbers more than people. That ends now." No one clapped, no one cheered, but they listened. Shaun turned to Danica. "You're the new warehouse manager, effective immediately." She blinked. "I don't even know what to say." "Start by running things the right way. You already have. and just like that, the weight of the warehouse shifted, not all at once, not dramatically. But the cracks had been exposed and the rebuilding had begun. The warehouse felt different by the end of the week, not fixed, not even close, but quieter. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm when everyone's still standing but not yet sure what's coming next. Every eye followed Shaun as he walked the floor in his real uniform. Button-down shirt, dark jeans, company badge with his full name now plainly visible. There were no more whispers, no side looks, just a cautious kind of attentiveness. He didn't go back to his office. Instead, he stayed on the warehouse floor. Danica stood at his side, clipboard in hand, now wearing a navy vest with her new title stitched near the collar. Warehouse manager. Her expression hadn't changed much, still sharp, still focused, but her voice carried further now, and no one interrupted her anymore. She spoke, and people moved. Shaun watched 2 new hires being trained by Rihanna near the inbound dock. One of them was barely out of high school, fumbling with the scanner, trying to keep pace. Rihanna didn't raise her voice. She just showed him again, slower this time, then stepped back. That kind of patience didn't show up in metrics. Shaun walked over. "How's the pace feel today?" Rihanna glanced at the incoming truck pulling in. "Manageable, still down 1, but we're hitting marks." Danica staggered the shifts better. "You need another body, say something. We'll stagger overtime if we have to." "This place doesn't run on broken backs." Rihanna gave a nod, then turned back to the line. No gratitude speech, just acknowledgement. Shaun turned and made his way toward the outbound lanes. The heavy steel doors were open to let in the fall air. Forklifts moved more deliberately now, no yelling. No rushed stacks. He noticed someone had repaired the flickering light over Dock 5. A new sign hung on the wall: "Ship it right or don't ship it." He spotted Leah near the loading ramp, checking labels on a packed pallet. She had a clipboard tucked under one arm and a radio clipped to her belt. "Taking inventory?" he asked. "Danica asked me to start spot checking outbound, said I catch details most people miss." "Do you like that kind of work?" "I like when things are where they're supposed to be, so yeah." Shaun tilted his head. "We need someone to manage quality assurance across multiple hubs. It'd mean training, travel, eventually building a team." Leah looked up. "Seriously? You know what bad looks like. We need people who do." She nodded slowly. "I'll think about it. Don't take too long." "I'd rather not lose you to someone else." He left her with that and continued toward the old office Clint had occupied. The door was propped open now. No locked drawers, no closed blinds. Danica had moved in but hadn't claimed it. Just a laptop, a whiteboard, and a calendar with shift rotations. A stack of write-up forms sat untouched in the corner. Inside, she was reviewing a list with Marcus, who now acted as her assistant. He pointed to a section with red-marked shipment discrepancies from the last quarter. "We're still untangling the duplicate codes," Marcus said. "Found 5 more cases. Same pattern, electronics, small batch, all routed through Reese's lane." "We're coordinating with legal," Shaun said. "If he tries to file for unemployment or play dumb, we've got the footage and the logs." Danica looked up. "I've also been reviewing the safety reports. The back restroom's been flagged 3 times this year. I put in a request for repairs, but it never left the queue." "Approved," Shaun said immediately. "And if the contractor doesn't show by next Friday, we'll replace him." Marcus tapped a different column. "Also, no one's logged ladder safety training since last fall. We've got people climbing without harnesses. I want every team lead certified by month's end. Anyone who doesn't pass doesn't lift off the ground." Danica kept reading. "What about the missing equipment? We're filing a claim. Insurance will cover part of it, but we're eating some of the loss. That's on me. I trusted reports I never verified." Marcus leaned back. "You're the first one from the top who's ever said that." "I won't be the last," Shaun said. "We're changing how this place runs, not just here. Everywhere." He stepped out and made his way to the break room. The microwave had been replaced. The broken table was gone, replaced with 2 smaller ones on metal legs. Someone had brought in a coffee maker with fresh grounds beside it. The vending machine still buzzed, but someone had taped a new sign to it. If it eats your dollar, tell Danica. Shaun watched a few workers filter in and out, more relaxed, still tired, but less guarded. He spotted the younger guy from the lift station, the one Reese had humiliated. He was sitting with the same kid who'd been scolded over box stacking. They were swapping tips on scanner shortcuts. Shaun walked over. "How's it going?" The younger one looked up. "Better, just trying not to mess up." "You're not. You're learning, big difference." The older one nodded. "Feels less like walking on glass now." Shaun gave a small nod and stepped away. He didn't linger. He didn't need to. Back near the intake dock, he found Danica again. She was reviewing the revised intake schedule with 2 team leads. When she finished, she stepped aside with him. "You're not staying much longer, are you?" "I've seen what I needed to. I'll be back, regularly, but I'm not the one who needs to run this place." "You trust us too." "I trust you to hold the right people accountable and protect the ones doing it right." "You've already started." Danica folded her arms. "There's still a lot broken. There always will be. The job's not fixing everything, it's not letting it rot." They stood in silence, watching a fresh shipment roll in pallets better stacked, labels clean and legible. No one tossed anything. No one rushed the line. Before he left, Shaun called a meeting, not in a boardroom, not on a Zoom call. He stood on a pallet at the center of the warehouse as the shift change began. Workers gathered, some leaning on forklifts, others standing with arms crossed, curious. "I won't take long," he said. "You all know who I am now, but that doesn't mean I know everything. That was clear the second I stepped on this floor." No one spoke. "I saw what was broken. I saw who was ignored. I saw who tried to speak up and got stepped on for it. That stops now. Not because I say so, but because you're going to hold this place up. And I'm going to make sure you have what you need to do it." He paused, letting the words settle. Some people abused their power. They're gone. Others stepped up. They'll lead. You'll be paid for the hours you work. You'll be trained before you're blamed, and you'll have backup when things get heavy. A fork beeped in the background. Someone exhaled hard. This isn't about one warehouse. It's about whether we run a business that pretends to care or one that actually does. From now on, we do the second. He stepped down. He didn't ask for applause. None came, but the next day, Leah accepted the QA offer. Rihanna submitted a request for better safety gloves for her team. The kid on scanning duty caught a mislabeled shipment and rerouted it without being told. And Danica, now behind a desk she hadn't asked for but had earned, started drafting a new employee review process, one that measured more than speed. Shaun left Denver that evening with a different kind of report in hand. No charts, no projections, just names. People who made the place work. He'd seen the worst of it. Now he was ready to build on the best.